All right, what's up, guys? It's me again. It's Tyson with Character Overcalling, also known as a solo episode called Pillow Talk. Just kidding. I hope y'all laugh at that because I think it's hilarious when I say it. Anyway, guys, we're here today to talk really briefly. Y'all already know I love when me and you just get to talk face to face, just to kind of, go over some things that we've both been dealing with. I know that nothing that I deal with is for me, it's always for y'all. And I was just sitting back this week thinking about some of the things that I had been dealing with and some of the things I had dealt with in the past. And y'all already know. Sometimes one of the main things that we feel like we have to do in order to heal is tell the story of what happened to us over and over and over again until everyone has heard it and everyone understands it rather, because what we want more than anything else is for people to feel sympathy toward us for what we've been through. I don't know where we get this idea from that having the sympathy of others will make what we experience better. I don't know where we get this idea from that getting the sympathy of others will make us feel differently about the fact that certain things happen to us. Let me tell you something. Condolences do not bring people back from the dead. Let me say that again. Condolences do not bring people back from the dead. What do I mean by that? Y'all, it doesn't matter how many times people apologize to you that you went through what you went through. It doesn't matter how many times that people tell you that how terrible it is or how terrible it was to hear about what you experienced. It's not going to change the fact that it's an experience that you had. And so, as we've been going through this season and talking about finding a way forward, something that I want to challenge y'all to do is change the way that you tell your story. Because some of you have been telling your story out of pity. Some of you have been telling your story out of grief. Some of you have been telling your story out of still being hurt by what you went through. And instead of people hearing the triumph and the victory that you experienced when you came out of it, they're only hearing the bitterness that you have against the fact that the situation happened in the first place. Oh my goodness. What to do when you realize that people can only hear your bitterness, but they can't hear your victory? You have to be careful about how you tell your story. People are paying attention to how you tell your story. And you don't want to diminish the fact that you came through it by talking about all the time how terrible it was when you were in it. I've been thinking and I've been reflecting because I had to go through this first. I don't know, it really used to happen a lot when I would tell my story about, not having the amount of support that I felt like I needed to have, from family, even from some friends in different seasons of my life. And I would just say, it's all by myself and so on and so forth. And I realized the longer I told that story, the more I realized how untrue it was. At the end of the day, even in the moments that I felt like I didn't have anybody, I still had Jesus, At the end of the day, even in the moments that I felt like I had nothing left, as long as I had him, I had more than enough. And so what I'm trying to tell y'all today is this. Change the way that you tell your story. How do you change the way that you tell your story? You change the way that you feel about what happened to you. You've got to realize, and I've said this on the podcast before, you have to realize that in your life, nothing has ever happened to you, but it has all happened for you. And so when I realized that nothing has happened to hurt me, but that everything happened to help me, it changes the way that I tell my story. Condolences will not bring situations back from the dead. Condolences will not bring relationships back from the dead. Condolences will not bring your loved ones back from the dead. So instead of seeking sympathy, you got to find a way forward. And I know some of you have probably gotten to the point in your process at this point where it's kind of like, well, things are not going as well. And, you've begun doing that thing where you blame other people, and what they've done in the past for why things are not flourishing for you the way that you would like for them to. You need to get away from that. Let me tell you something. Blaming them is not going to help you. I always tell, my mom is argumentative with me at times. If you're watching this, I love you. Leave me alone. Don't comment on this. You are argumentative sometimes, but you're my mama, so I deal with it. Anyway, my mama, when we would get into disagreements, because I'm not permitted to argue with my mother because I'm African American. Um, we would get into disagreements, and my mom would be like, "Oh, so you trying to say that this is my fault?" And I would always tell my mama, "I don't really think it's about fault. It's about the fact that something took place." That's what I want to say to you today. You've been so concerned about whose fault it is that you're dealing with the things that you're dealing with that you've forgotten to focus on the fact that something just happened that felt unfair. And that no matter whose fault it was, it's your responsibility to move past it. I want to leave you with this because I really want to, I want you to have time to think about this. I know you've been hurt in life. I know you have been disappointed in life. I know you've been mistreated in life. And I know that as a result of those things happening to you, you have experienced some trauma. But can I tell you something? Even though the things that happened to you were not your fault, it is your responsibility to heal from them. No one is responsible for your healing except you. No one can choose for you to heal except you. So if at the end of life you're still bitter and broken, it won't be anybody's fault except yours. Change the way that you tell your story. Why? Because pity never paid any bills. Pity never promoted anybody. Pity never made anybody feel better. Pity helps you stay where you are. So if you're feeling sad right now, if you're feeling depressed right now, if you're feeling upset about how unfair things have been, listen, it's okay to feel. And I want you to be okay with feeling what you feel right now. But listen, you may be down at the moment, and it's okay for you to be down, but it's not okay for you to stay there. You've got to get up. You've got to keep moving, because if you stay in the same spot, oh my goodness, things will never get better. Why would you stop if you're going through hell right now? Why would you stop in hell? I don't get that. No. Why would you do that? You need to keep going. Change the way that you tell your story. Why? Because someone needs to hear your story and the version of it that you tell once you're whole. They're not going to be able to get it from the bitter version. They're not going to be able to get it from the hood version, okay? When you're talking about how you're going to go back and you're going to get your money, from your cousin, or, you're going to go take your car back because, you helped that man get his teeth fixed and all. Listen, you can't take them veneers out his mouth. They're in there. They're in there now. You can't shave them down so he can have his old teeth back. They're not there no more. Listen, get whole, get healed. And even if this process does not look like how you wanted it to, change the way that you tell your story. Change the way that you tell your story. Listen, this has been a great episode of Pillow Talk. Character over calling, whatever. I hope y'all enjoy this so far. I have the best production team, podcast team in the entire world, entire planet. I'm sitting here looking at this screen and I see myself, and y'all, I look good on this thing. Well, never mind. I don't want to be arrogant because, y'all will be talking about that next. You know how y'all do. Anyway, I love y'all and I want y'all to be well. And listen, stay encouraged. Don't give up. And remember what I told you to do. Change the way that you tell your story. Be sweet. I love you. I'll see you next time.